right, so let's get into color theory. So this is going to be part one. It's going to be, we're going to make a color wheel today, and we're going to be doing it with the most popular Tombow colors. So the ones I have in front of me, I'm going to be using 12 main colors, which, let me move my iPad again. Okay, so I'm going to be doing 12 main colors and then also a few neutrals here, okay? So we are going to be doing just this little Tombow color wheel. Like I said, it's the main colors that we use. So I just thought this might be kind of fun as opposed to a color wheel that you might find online. However, before we get started, if you are going to do this with me, a really great resource would be to find a color wheel online that has your very basic colors. So this one is yellow, orange, red, violet, blue, violet, blue, blue, green, yellow, green, and then back to yellow. Okay, so when you're sort of trying to figure out where your colors might go in a color wheel, this is a great resource to think, okay, is this more yellow green or is this more of a blue green? So, and then you sort of order your colors based on that, okay? So I'm gonna show you how I did that, and let's see, any questions here before I switch? So, and then we're also going to do a quick little project using the color wheel as our inspiration, and I will show you how we got to this color theme, but we're going to be using the color wheel, okay? And the basis of the color wheel is that you would choose colors that I'll show you how, but you use just those colors in your composition, okay? So let's go ahead and get started, and I'm going to just quickly flip you over and we'll get going. Okay, maybe. There we go. All right, everybody. I am going to scooch this over just a touch. And I've got all of my colors here that I'm going to be using. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, that's very kind of you. Okay, so just a quick rundown of the colors that I'm going to be using for this color wheel. And like I said, these are the ones I use most often. So I'm starting with number 526 right here, which is the light blue. And then based on my color wheel, you know, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to give me a really good idea about how I'm going to order my pens. So I would suggest just pulling out 12 of your most used pens, something in a different hue here. I'm going to tell you what I'm using. You may have them already at home, so we can just pull them out as I go, okay? So 526, which is that really light blue, we use a lot for the sky. The 565, which is very common when we do things like vessels and such. It's the color that we mix a lot with the brown. And then also 636, which is that really beautiful purple. Let me see here. I want to make sure I'm on camera. Everybody can see these. Okay. And then also the 685, which is this really beautiful, I'm not sure if we've got this one online, but it's a really nice, more warm purple. And that's 685. It's kind of a grapey color. Then I'm going to use 725, which is that really bright pink. The 856, which is the truest red that I could find. 925, which is sort of a orangey red or a red orange. The 933, which is more of your, your true orange. 993, which is going to be the yellow. And then we're going to get into our greens. So the yellow green is going to be 177, and that's sort of that olivey green. And then as we get more towards blue, we're going to use the 249. These two greens we use a ton. So the 249 is your cool green, and then your warm green is the 177. Yes, Sandy, the 725 matches my nails. That's funny. And then 346, which is this beautiful peacocky greenish blue. And then our neutrals, the N25, the 969, and then I put it somewhere, but it's also going to be 947. So where did I put 947? I just had it. Oh, here. And 947. Okay, so I am going to be using these 12 colors, and I'm going to be putting them onto my color wheel. So, you know, you may not be able to follow me this time, but I will say if you want to follow the color theory series that I'm going to be doing, this will be your homework. Okay, so definitely have this, if you can, have your own color wheel ready by next week and actually thereafter, because we can refer back to our color wheels a lot if we all have them, okay? So definitely I'm gonna probably go a little bit faster than what we are able to do on here, but you can always rewind the video when I post it onto the Facebook page and then do it yourself, okay? Sorry, I thought I was losing connection here. Okay, Sheila, you should have done a different color on each nail. I should have. That would have been a great idea. Hi, Teresa. Okay, I hope that you're all with me at this point, okay? So I'm going to get the neutrals out of the way, and we'll revisit those after we get our main color wheel in, okay? So I'm going to roll these all to the side. And I'm going to take my paper with the 12-point circle. So I've got a spot for each of these colors on my color wheel. And on here, I just labeled this Tombow up here, and I did all of this sort of at the end. I used pencil initially to make the circle and the little pie cutout, or the little pie shapes in here. And then I went through at the very end and put in the black lines. So like I said, this does not need to be perfect. You can do yours very haphazardly for this first time as you're following along, and then go back in and be like, okay, did I get the colors in the right spot? How do I feel about the way that this looks, okay? So I have already put all of my colors onto my palette, and we've got all 12 of the main colors, and then we have the neutrals down here. So for the sake of time, I did all this, and like I said, I want you guys to rewatch this and to make your own color wheel for next week, okay? So I am going to take my brush, and I don't know if you noticed, you probably did because you're all very smart and creative and wonderful, but you'll see that there's a gradient here. So we have the lightest color, that's one wash, then we have two washes, and then the third wash at the bottom. And so we have a single layer, 2 layers, 3 layers of the color, and that's how it's going to look on our paper, okay? So I am going to start by putting in a single wash of all the colors, and by the time I get back to this color, once I've gone around, it'll be dry and we can put in the second layer. And then we'll do that all the way around, and then we'll do the third layer, okay? So let's get started. And I'm going to use that number 4 brush, and it really doesn't matter where you start on here. I've ordered my markers already, so I'm just going to move down the line here, come back up and move down here. And then once I get to the neutrals, I'll put those on the side. So, any questions so far? Looks like you're all just hanging with me now. Okay, any questions? Feel free to ask questions in the comments, and for those watching on YouTube, I'll make sure to repeat the question so that you know what's being asked. Barbara, she can't drink her wine and follow this. Watch it again, drink your wine right now, watch it again, and then do your own wheel, okay? Okay, so I'm going to start with number 526, and I'm going to begin by putting in my first wash. Now you want to make sure that you have enough water on here so that you can cover the whole pie shape. And it's going to be pretty light. Don't worry about having pencil marks or anything like that. That's all going to be erased at the end. So you can paint right over the top of this and it's fine. Don't worry about it. All right, now I'm going to move down to 565 and I'm going to just wash this color in. Doesn't need to be perfect, but notice I'm starting at the bottom so that the darker area is at the bottom and the lighter area is at the top. This is really what I want because I want the lightest area to be the lightest wash up here, because we're gonna layer down in here. So that was 565. And then 636 is that really beautiful blue purple. And once I put on the other purple, you'll see that this purple actually has a lot more blue. And I'm just washing this in, just the one layer of color. Okay. And then the 685, you can see this actually has more, it looks pinker, but it has more yellow in it. As we move into the pinks and the reds and the oranges. Okay, so I'm just going to pull this color in and it looks nice and pinky in here, but as we get the layer in, it's going to look more purple. Okay, we'll move on to 725. Now I have a pretty decent amount of water on here just to make sure that I'm going to be able to saturate that whole little pie shape in one swoop. And it's okay if there's an area that's darker, it's really okay. This is just going to be a reference for us. All right, and I'm just going to turn this and we'll go on to number 856, which is going to be right here. 856, and then, ooh, that's really bright red. And I'm getting in as quickly as I can to ensure that this is not going to dry and then look like it has two layers on it. Okay. And then we'll go to 925, which I hope you can see this. 925, that's going to be that red orange. Okay. Get that on. That's the 925. And then we're going to go to, we'll move this down, the 933. And you can see I'm getting more yellow, huh? This is getting much warmer. And then we're gonna have 993, which is going to be the yellow. And I'm going there, 993, just that single layer. And then now we're gonna move into our greens. So I'm gonna grab the 177, one layer of this, 177. All right, you can see we're getting a really nice wheel here. Okay, and then I'm gonna go 249. And you can see that 249 right next to the 177 is quite a bit cooler, isn't it? Quite a bit cooler. And then, and try to avoid the temptation, if you don't have enough on here, try to avoid the temptation of redipping and putting it onto your paper, because then that would technically be 2 layers. So it's okay if it's really light, it's fine. Okay. And then I'm going to do 346 on this last one, and that's way greenish blue. Okay, now we have our base colors on, and I'm gonna start again at that 256 or 526, which is here. Mary, the wheel is a 3-inch circle, but you can do your wheel as big or small as you want. I did a 12-point wheel, but you can do 8 if you want to. It's totally up to you. But this is a 3-inch circle. Okay, so that 526, I'm gonna go back in, which is gonna be this one, and I'm not gonna go up as far because this is my second layer. So I want to stop right there. Okay. And then 565, I'm gonna grab that again, and I'm gonna go up to that same spot. Just right there. So you can see, oh, thank you, Catherine. Oh, good, Barbara. I love to hear that. Barbara says it's an amazing visual learning experience. That's awesome. I love to hear that because, you know, a lot of the color wheels, they're amazing tools to use, but unless you have those exact colors, it's really hard to sort of translate the colors that you have into a color wheel. Oh, Roberta, I drew mine like 4 or 5 times. Yeah, that's why I had to have it ready for you to go. But, you know, if you use pencil, you can erase and redraw. Just make sure you use a ruler. I used a little circle die, a 3-inch circle die, to do the main circle. So you could try that too. All right, so number 636. And I'm gonna go the second layer on that one. I'm just gonna go up that high. Vicky, no, I'm using the same amount of water. Same amount of water. Because I want it to drop off the same amount of ink on the second layer. If you're finding that your water is running, just use less water. It's okay, it's no big deal. It's just gonna give you a basic representation of what colors you have and how you can use these colors in your composition. Okay. And then 685, this one, okay? And I totally just dipped again, but I think I'm okay. Okay. Sometimes you're just gonna naturally dip again. And that's why I mentioned try to avoid if you can. But if you do, it's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal. All right. And then I'm going to move on to, yes, Paula, very, very good idea. Just watch and then do your homework and make your own color wheel out of the colors that you have, because you may not have all of these colors and that's totally fine. Or maybe you have a yellow in Marvy. You can still put that on your color wheel. It's just colors that you have at your disposal to use in your compositions. Okay, so 725, I'm going to bring in for the second layer. Okay. Sheila, good idea. You could cut out a circle from the die and then fold it to get the reference points to draw your circle. Yep, absolutely. Be creative. Good idea. Okay, 856 now. I'm going to scooch this up. 856, I'm going to come in and put in my second layer here. And if you are, I know we've got some type A's out there. You know, I'm a recovering perfectionist, so I fully understand. If you wanted to do a circle here and then another circle to keep your second layer in and then another circle to keep your third layer in, you can totally do that too. Absolutely up to you. However you want, you know, how organized you want to make this is up to you. Okay, so now we're going to move on to 925. That orangey red. Yeah, Roberta, I could totally see you doing that. Yes. The 3 circles, you know, I thought about teaching it like that and I'm like, I just don't want to overcomplicate it. But my brain went straight to the 3 circles just because it's really easy to differentiate between the different colors. So you can totally do that. Okay, 933 now. And I'm going to take that and put that in. Okay, now I'm gonna do 993 and I'm gonna put that yellow right into its spot, the second layer. And we'll move on to the 177. And you can see some of these, once you layer in twice, they get pretty dark, huh? Okay. There's that 177. And then we'll do the 249, which is going to be the cooler tone green. That's the green my mom uses a lot. I love this green too, it's beautiful. Okay. And then the 346, which is that really beautiful turquoisey greenish blue, is next. Okay, so now we have our 2 layers in. Ross says, every color wheel I've ever bought has lines between shades, so I like the blended effects between layers. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, I didn't even think about that, but that's also very true. And you could also just blend this out to not be a straight line. You know, you could make it super blended if you want to, which would be beautiful. I like that idea. Okay, now we're going to go back into our third layer here. So we're gonna start right back at the top and it's gonna go faster. Now this layer, I will use less water. Vicki, I know you asked that about the second layer. I'll use less water just because it's gonna be a smaller space. And I do want to see a big difference between the layers here, because I want to know how dark I can get this color when I'm going on to my composition. So then I'm going to do 565. And you can even go up a little bit further. That was pretty low. I'm going to bring this one up just a touch more. And I shouldn't do it again, but this was technically still a little bit wet, so we're probably okay. Okay. Hi, Lindy. No problem. You can watch anytime. I'm going to upload this onto Facebook. But I did give homework. So your homework is to make your own color wheel with the colors that you have at home so that you can have a really great reference tool when we go to do other compositions in the future. Thanks, Carolyn. Carolyn says the lines are so perfect, looks so neat. You know what? I redrew this several times, so that's a very nice compliment. You know, there is a mathematical way to draw a 12-point circle to have it be perfect, but it involves a protractor and a ruler and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm like, I'm just going to teach you guys this way and make it really simple. But there's probably like a print off too that you could print off for yourself onto your watercolor paper if you have a printer that can handle the heaviness or the weight of your watercolor paper. And there's the 725. Patricia, great. Awesome. Do that homework, girl. All right. Now I'm going to go to, where was I? 856. And look at that red pop. Oh, I love this red. So beautiful. And we'll go around. And we'll do 925. And I am going to take 933 and put that one in. Also 993. And because we've allowed the layers to dry underneath, we're getting a true color here. So when you're doing like shadows on people or anything like that, you know, if somebody was wearing like a yellow shirt, you could do this as your highlight. Then this is your middle area, and then this into the shadows. So this is also why these little color wheels are so helpful. Okay, so 177. And hi, Sherry. I'm using our top 12 Tombow colors and making a little color wheel. Or the ones, I should say the ones I use the most. Okay, and then 249. It's going to be this one. And then also 346, which is going to be really intense. Okay, no problem. All right, so now we are going to do essentially the same thing, but we're going to put our neutrals just on the side. And a lot of times I imagine the greens as neutrals as well, because, you know, you're gonna have a green, if, you know, when you're doing watercolors with these, a lot of them have foliage, right? So you're gonna have a green in a lot of the compositions that you do. So I just sort of think of these as neutrals too, but I still put them in the wheel because they're such beautiful colors. Okay, so I'm gonna start my little neutrals section with the 969. So I'm gonna take a little bit of that 969 and I'm just going to do just a little square of a single wash here, or a rectangle, I should say. This does not need to be perfect. I'm just gonna put a little wash there. And then also for the 947, which this one has a little bit more of like a pinky undertone. And make sure you get that in good. Maybe I'll zoom in just a little bit more. And then also the N25 right here. So I want a little bit more water than that. I'm gonna grab that N25 because I want it to be pretty light. And we're gonna put that right in, just like that. Now I'll go back up to my 969, make sure that's dry, and it is. I'll go back onto my 969 and we'll do another layer. And if you are not a color wheel person and you just like to see how the colors change like with the layers, you could do them all like this. I just really like to have these in a wheel because there's a lot of really neat techniques you can use to choose your colors. And I want to show you that during this series. Okay, so 947. And then also we're going to do the N25, a second layer of that one. Okay. We'll do one more layer of each of these. The 969, the 947, and also the N25. Okay, we made it through. How are we doing, everybody? Okay, so what I like to do, and I will just do this on here just so you all can see, is I would just go back through and take a really fine detailed tip. This one I have is the Winsor Newton. This is a black fine liner, and it's like really, really fine. And I'll go back and just put the lines in here. So I'm gonna use this little guy because it's really, really helpful. So I'm just gonna come in and put a line around. Now it does not have to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it's kind of nice to have a line around here, and then you're, you know, separating out your colors a little bit more. And then we'll do our lines over our colors. Make sure these are dry, so I'm not going to be spreading anything. Okay, so I'll take my ruler And I'll just do a little line here. Now remember, your pencil lines are going to be erased. So don't worry about being like perfectly over the pencil line. And I'll go here. Okay. And I will go right here. And again. Sorry, I know this is tedious, the tedious part, but I know some of you like to see it from start to finish, so I did want to give you a good idea of how to do this. But I find this kind of therapeutic to make these little guys. And you're just gonna keep going around until you get all of your little pizza slices done. Okay, Randy says, hi Kendra, you might be coming to this, but could you talk about the whole warm and cool concept and how those types of colors go together or not? Randy, that is coming up in this series. It's not going to be brought up today, but I am definitely going to talk about the cool and the warm toned colors and how to use these for your projects. But if you look here, just at first glance onto your color wheel, if you make a line right here through the greens, the warm green and the cool green, these colors down here are considered cool and these colors up here are considered warm. So we'll definitely touch on that again, but I'm gonna keep it super basic today. Kimberly Ann, could you freehand it and show us without the ruler? Oh, wow. You know what? I'm going to freehand these ones. So yes, you can see how good that's going to look. Because I get a little bit shaky, see? But you know what? It's okay. I'm cool with it. I'm just going to go with it. Wow, thank you for that request. For those of you who don't know, Kimberly Ann is my sister. So, yes. I'm going to keep going around here and just box these in. Okay. So, thank you, Jane. Where's the love? Actually, we love each other very much. Keeping it real. Okay, so now I'm going to put my color numbers in here just so I know which numbers are what. So I'm going to start with, we'll start here, the 177. 177. Then we have the 249. Then we have 346. This is 526. This is 565. We have 636. This one is 685. We have this really bright pink, which is 725. We have this bright red, which is 856 and 925. Then we have 933, and lastly 993 on the wheel. Okay. Carolyn, you're gonna love it. It's so fun. It's really, really fun. And then also right here, we're gonna do our neutral. So this is gonna be 969. This is 947. And N25. Okay, and then I'm going to label this as Tombow. And like I said, you could make this for, you know, if you have Marvies, you can mix them or you can make them their own wheel. However you want to do it, you can totally do. So this is Tombow. Okay. And I'm going to zoom out just a little bit here so you can get a good view. Good, Deanna. Do your Marvy markers. It does not have to be Tombow. My point here is that you have a color wheel of colors that you have. Now, if you've got like every color known to man in the Tombow line, you may have a wheel of just reds, a wheel of just oranges, a wheel of just blues. So there's going to be, you know, I would, if that is you and you have a ton, which I know actually, Diane, I think you have a million Tombows, I would pick out your favorite ones and do a wheel like this, you know, pick out the colors that you use most often, do a wheel like this, and then you can always do a gradient of reds or a gradient of blues. So that you can say, okay, I want a green, I want to do the triangle, so I'm going to choose a green from my green color wheel, or I'm going to choose a pink from my pink and red color wheel. Okay, so now that we have our wheel done, I do want to do a quick little project for you and just show you that this is a really fun concept to use when you're trying to decide colors for your compositions, because it kind of gets you out of your comfort zone. So colors that are next to each other, those are called, Diane, LOL, a million Tombows. I know. I think I recall seeing a photo of your craft room and seeing like a million Tombows in there. That's amazing. Okay, so these next to each other are called analogous colors. Okay, so anything next to each other is going to make a really nice composition together. So you could do red, orange, and yellow, okay, or red, orange, and orangey red, or, you know, what have you. You could do orange, yellow, and green, purple, blue, and light blue. So however you want to do it. You can also do a triangle. So if you were to do like 993, you could also do 685 and also 565. So you could choose like those three in a triangle shape. You could do that. You could also do a X. So if you did an X, like maybe you want to do 249, 725, and also 565. So these make an X. And you can choose colors like that. So it's going to be really fun. And that's really what I want to do in the coming week or two, is have color composition, color theory, talk about warms, cools, shadows, all that stuff in the coming weeks, and just use some different color combinations based on our color wheel. And that's why I want you to have your color wheel done too, so that if we do a triangle, you know, maybe we want a wider triangle and we want to do something like this with 993, 725, and 346. We can do that, but you'll make your triangle on your own color wheel and then use those colors with me. So for today, let's do the one I used for this was actually the X. So I used number 565, 725, 933, and 249. So that's the ones I used on this one. And oh, good, Carolyn. Carolyn says, the color wheel has always got me confused. I'm understanding better. I'm so glad. And I will explain more as we go along, okay? So for this one, I'm going to use these 4 colors. And notice the way that I did the X was to have 2 colors in between each selected color, okay? And that's how I got the X. All right, so let's try this out now. And I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, and we'll just have this sort of to the side, and we'll pull up a new piece of watercolor paper here. And I'm going to use the picture from, so that really quickly, the sets I'll use. Foliage set 1, okay, which is number 4051. Flower set 1, which is 4052, and it's just going to be this one in here, and also the vine and the grass in here. And then this little picture from the watercolor decorative jar set, and that's going to be this guy right here. Okay, so all I'm gonna use for this one is those 4 colors, but I can also use the neutrals. So the neutrals I can use in any composition that I want to. Okay, I'm gonna use that 969 for sure. All right, so I'm gonna take my picture and I'm gonna do 969. We're gonna make that really pretty gray that we do. So 969 first. And then I'm gonna go over that with the 565, and we'll go over this to get that nice gray color. Now I am going to stamp this off one time because I don't want it to be so dark. So I'm gonna stamp it off once onto watercolor paper, and then I'm gonna take that and stamp it onto my project paper. Just like so. I'll take my brush and we're going to start pulling out the color in this little picture. Now we do not want to trace the lines. Okay, we don't want to trace. We want to just pull some of the color out of the lines and use that in the picture. We want to leave a highlight in the center, which is always a must, especially when something is rounded. So right now I'm just pulling out the basic shadow on this picture. I am going to put some color in here. So right now I'm just sort of prepping the shadows for that. Okay, now I'm going to take, remember we chose 249. So I'm going to take 249 and I'm going to use my vine. I'm just going to ink half of it, or a little bit, well, a little bit over half, which is okay. And I'm going to just start stamping these into my picture. It's okay if it comes over the top, that's no big deal. You know, we're going to put a couple leaves over the top anyway. And I want to leave a little bit of space in the front for my flowers. So I'm going to leave a little bit of a space in here. I'll re-ink that again and just put a couple leaves over the front and maybe just a couple back in here. Okay, so that's 249. So I've used one of the 4 colors that I plan to use in this composition. Okay, so I've already used, let me show you. I've already used the brown and I've already used the 565. So I still have, oh, and the 249. So I've used these 2 and this. Now I need to use 933 and 725. So let's get our flowers out. I'm gonna use the 933 because that one's a lighter color and I'm just gonna use the same flower for both. So I'm gonna use the lighter color first, which is that 933. So I'll just take that, put it on my flower, and I'm going to just start stamping in, stamping off these flowers. And I can put them wherever I want to. There's no right or wrong spot to put these. And maybe I'll do a couple more, maybe just over here. And I'll take that pink. So now I've got 933 in there, okay? I'm gonna take that pink, the 725, which is also an option. And I'm gonna use that. I'm just gonna color a few of these flowers and I'm gonna stamp it right next to that orange. And you don't have to do this, but I think these 2 colors blend really nicely together. So I'm just going to put a little bit of that in there, maybe a couple pink ones here. And that's gonna take care of that pink and that orange, okay? Now I want a little bit more of that 565 because all I really used it in was the gray in this picture. So I wanna add more of that 565 because we've used now 249, 933, 725, and I really want this to show up a little bit more because this composition is really nice together. And of course we've got that 969. So I'm going to take a stemmed flower. This one is in flower set 1. And I'm going to take that 565, ink that. And the 249, right, because that's the green we picked, 249. And I'm going to stamp this right into this little hole that I made. Okay, so now I've got some blue in there. Notice I haven't added any water yet because I really wanted to fit these in tight together. If you are not going to fit things in so tight together, you can add your water as you go. But if you want things to be really, really close, when you add the water, it's going to spread the colors. But if you wait, then you can get them nice and close together. So I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to start dabbing these orangey and pink flowers. And I don't mind coming out of the lines a little bit. We definitely still want to remember to leave highlights and white space. But I can come in here and add a little bit of water to that. Now I'm going to add water up into these beautiful blue flowers. And then lastly, I'll come in and add water to my little vines. And you could always add your flowers in first, which I've also taught. I wanted a lot of green in this, so I decided to add them second, but that's totally up to you. If you add them first, you're sort of reserving space for your flowers. Now I'm going to make my picture this really beautiful 565 color and tie that into the overall composition. Good, Mary, I'm so glad. Mary says this has been so helpful. That's really encouraging. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to take that 565, this one, and I'm just going to start coloring that into my picture here. Remembering I still need the center of this to be highlighted. So I'm just going to take the 565 again, and the outside of the picture is going to be the darkest, while the inside, the center, is going to be the lightest where the highlight is. So you just kind of want to add this, keeping that in mind. And if you feel like your lines are getting really harsh, you can just take some water and go right over it. So I'm going to come down here. You can add some areas that you might think there would be a shadow. 565 again, I'll just take that. Diane, so pretty, Kendra. These colors work so well together. Color theory for the win. I know, it is so helpful once you can look at a color wheel. And of course, I'll show you a lot more in the next couple of weeks on how to use the color wheel. But it is so helpful when you're trying to determine how in the world you want to put your composition together. So yes, color theory for the win. Okay, so I'm going to take that, just put a little bit darker shadows in here. And notice we were able to layer that color. See? This layer right here, that third layer that we made, I knew that this could get that dark because we put that third layer onto our color wheel. So I knew I'd be able to get a nice, strong shadow in this 565 because we already did the work in putting it in our color wheel. Okay? All right, so we're gonna kind of let this dry a little bit. We're gonna put in some grass, and then we'll put in our really beautiful little bird in the center. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my grass, and we'll use, again, just the 249. So 249. And we'll take that grass, and we'll just stamp that in. And remember, you're stamping this off, so you're getting that dark and light variation. Now we'll take our brush and just pull that out a little bit. You can go right over the picture. And then I like to just pull some of this out a little bit. You can also grab it from your palette, the 249. Georgia says, I had to take a full semester of color theory. This is such a nice, simple way to do it. Good. I'm so glad to hear it, Georgia. I also took a semester of an art class, which the whole thing wasn't color theory, but we did learn quite a bit about color theory, and it did change the way I looked at the color wheel. So yes, and ever since then, I've just absolutely loved the concept of a color wheel. Okay, so now this is dry, so we can put our ornate detail in here, and it's just the little bird. So I'm going to use one of our neutral colors, which would be the 969, and I'm going to just take that and ink up that little bird. Now this also needs to be stamped off, so I'm going to stamp him off once, and then just center him in here. He doesn't have to be perfect, but just put him in. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the 969 and put a little bit of color down in here onto him. And a little bit of that 565, because that's our color, right? 565 into his wing. And it's up to you how you want to do this part of it. I'll put just a little bit into the leaves here because I like these to be a little bit darker. Okay. We can finish up by adding some of our twin tone, that very nice detailed tip. I'm going to come in and just add some darker areas in here for contrast, because I really like to do that. I think it adds so much to the composition when you add just a little contrast. Give him a nice dark eye. Maybe I'll come in here and put some dots into these stemmed flowers. You can put them around if you want to. And then as an added feature, if you want to, you can also pull out some of the color in your pot and pull it out into the open area out here. It just helps to draw the eye to the main image, which is your picture here. And it makes it feel like it's not just floating in space. There's actually something behind it. Okay, so this is a color combination that I would generally not use, but because of the color wheel, it sort of helped me to see that it's actually really beautiful together. And it just pulls me out of my comfort zone. It helps me to see, you know, the different variations that we can use. So, let's see, looking forward to, oh good, Diane, I can't wait to see yours. It's gonna be gorgeous. So I'm going to flip us back over, and I will say a quick goodbye to you all. I hope you enjoyed this though. Okay, one moment. And we'll flip. Hello, hello. Hi. Okay, so that wraps up our first color theory class. So I want you, as your homework, to do your own color wheel, okay, with your 12 favorite colors or 12 colors that you use a lot. And we're going to be using this the next couple of weeks. So if you can have that ready to go, great. And if not, totally fine. But it does not have to be Tombow. It can be any sort of water-based marker. It could be colored pencils. It could be crayons, whatever you want to do. You could totally make a color wheel out of it. Okay, so let me make sure I'm not missing anything. All right, everybody. Oh, you guys are just so sweet. I love you all. I hope you have a great week. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next week. Oh, I'm going to be using, oh my, I haven't decided yet. I think I'm going to be using the Ornate Container set, and I don't think I've used this one yet. So if I've used this one, I will probably change it and post it to the supply list, but for next week, we'll use this one, okay? So I love you all. Have a great rest of your day. Mwah. Have a great week, and oh, definitely follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, all that good stuff. If you like this, we are always on, or I'm always on Tuesday nights, 5 p.m. PST, and then my mom is on the first and third Wednesday of the month at 10 a.m. PST. So we hope that you'll join again, and I love you all. Mwah. Bye.